When I turned 19, I had moved just a month and a half prior, 3,000 miles to a new state around people I didn't know in a kind of a different culture and environment than I grew up in. And I was beginning what would end up being over a year where I was depressed. And I don't use that term lightly. It goes without saying I don't have a medical background or anything like that. I'm just speaking from my experiences. When I moved to Michigan for film school, it was a weird time. I think for me, that time after high school, like graduating high school and then into college, was just different and strange and weird. It kind of felt like an out-of-body experience for me. And I didn't have the tools that I needed to thrive in the world as an adult and be mentally healthy the way that I needed to. And that was for a few different reasons. And it would basically take me through the next 6 or so years to become really healthy mentally in my mental health. And so, yeah, I wanted to share just my experiences with that. During that year when I was 19, I think a big aspect of what I would call my year of depression, it was actually more like a year and a half, where every day I woke up and I felt this fog. I felt just like a fog over me, no matter what was going on, no matter how great things in life were, no matter how terrible they were. There was this like malaise, just this like haziness over my life that I couldn't seem to break. And maybe you're watching this because you've experienced something like that. Maybe you're experiencing something like that right now. And for me, I didn't know what that was. Like, I think I would have said at the time that I was depressed, but I didn't tell anyone that. I wasn't talking to people in that way. I don't think really many people at that time would have guessed that I was depressed or dealing with depression, but that definitely was where I was at the time. And looking back on that, the biggest factor in that was a chemical factor, a chemical reason. I had moved to Michigan, and here where I'm at in Washington, our winters aren't harsh by any means, but I remember it snowing on Halloween, and then there was basically snow on the ground until like late April, early May. Like it was wild to me that the snow would be around that long. And so there were some seasonal depressional, there were some environmental factors, but I would definitely say that the chemical factors were there. I had, gone through a breakup, right when I was moving, and like that was definitely the catalyst. And I was doing a lot of negative self-talk at the time. I'll kind of get to that later. But yeah, I just didn't have the tools to accurately assess what I was dealing with. At the time, I would have said I was dealing with like a seasonal depression, but it was more than that. I think I was dealing with a lot of change and not knowing how to process my life and what my life was now. It's like all this change had happened in such a short amount of time, and moving 3,000 miles, all this stuff. And I just don't think my brain and the chemicals could handle that. And again, this is just speaking from my experience. I was never diagnosed with depression or anything like that. But yeah, like I said, maybe you're experiencing something, and I hope you're open to medication of some kind, being diagnosed and being able to deal with that if that is something you are dealing with in a prolonged way. I know for me, the healing that I got from that, the fix, if you will, to that season of depression, that over a year long of depression, was those chemicals being like balanced. And I think me having a life where I could feel okay in my environment, and a life where I could feel a little more security and consistency. When I moved back home, there was still a lot of change. It felt like all the people I'd grown up with, some had gone to college, people were getting married. It was just a lot of like change, and I still didn't really know how to deal with that. But for me, it was God who really spoke life into me and showed me a path where I could not feel like I had to be stuck, not feel like I had to be depressed, but spoke to me in a way that I was like, I'm going to be okay. And yeah, so there was a lot of those like chemical imbalances that would be fixed just through my environment being better. And so moving forward though, I would still experience seasonal depression, and I think my self-talk was kind of the worst at that time. In the years after college, early 20s, I was starting out in my career, but I was still placing my identity in like relationships, wanting to be in a relationship or be in a marriage. Like I was heavily focused on that pursuit and really seeking validation from external sources in that way. And it took me a lot of years, took me into like my mid-20s to realize what was going on when it came to the self-talk. That if I was feeling rejected by someone, even if in a work situation, I felt like, oh, I deserve this at work, I deserve this promotion, whatever it is, that would impact me personally. I wasn't able to separate a lot of the things I was experiencing or what was happening in my life, or even the things that people would say to me. Because people are going to say things to you in your life that are negative, that are hurtful, and often they're going to say lies to you. They're going to speak untruths to you, and your brain is going to want to like internalize that and take that for truth. And so I didn't have the tools at that time, even then, to separate and go, nope, that's not true, and like replace that lie with the truth. Say, nope, this is who I am. This is who God says I am. And yeah, it took me a while. The thing that really helped it was having a community, especially of young men who were like close in my age, to speak life into me and say, hey, I see these gifts in you. I see your giftings in these areas. Hey, you helped me. You were kind to me in this way, and I see that kindness as part of who you are. These were young men who spoke into my life when I really needed it. And yeah, like there was just a lifting up of my mind, of my spirits throughout that time, where I realized, oh, I don't have to hold on to this negative thing that this person said to me. I don't have to hold on to this failed relationship or what this ex-girlfriend said to me or whatever it is. I was able to let those things go and replace the lies that people had said, or even just the negative things that people had said to me, replace them with truth, replace them with positive things. And I wasn't thinking about those constantly. I think that was a huge factor, especially in even seasonal depression. Like it's the chemical imbalances mixed with the negative talk. And so like in those seasons where whether it was winter or not, like it didn't matter. I was just feeling depressed and I was feeling anxious, and feeling like other people had control over my life, or not my life, but like how I felt about myself, or how I felt about what I was doing, how I was spending my time. Like just me going through life felt like I wasn't in control of how I felt. And that caused a lot of anxiety. That caused me to be depressed. And so yeah, it took a couple years of that healing process to happen, and ultimately finding my identity in who God says I am and in the inherent things about myself that I knew were true. And so that was a huge win of like going kind of a night and day. I mean, it took some years, but it was a difference of the old anxious, reserved, afraid person that I was before into the confident person who cared for other people, who could see other people and not be so self-focused. Of course, it's always a journey. It's always a process. But having those people around me and realizing, oh, there's like some trash self-talk. Like I'm trashing my own self here without even realizing it. The last thing when it came to anxiety or depression, I remember experiencing a couple years ago, was seasonal depression. At least that's what I called it. And it would happen every once in a while in the winter where I would just start feeling really burned out. And I think a big part of that was remembering when I used to be depressed, or remembering when maybe some more traumatic or hurtful things had happened to me. And maybe there were certain triggers or things that I wasn't even aware of, or mindset shifts that I would start to shift back into this negative talk, or even when the winter would come, being chemically imbalanced and knowing I just need to take some vitamin D, some vitamin C, like when I would start to feel those shifts because of one reason or another, it would almost be like a self-fulfilling prophecy. It'd be like, oh, I'm getting depressed again. I'm going to be depressed again. And I would start getting in this cycle of anxiousness. And so a cycle, I guess, that I had to break, or a mindset shift that I had to break, was going, no, I'm going to be okay. I am okay. I'm going to be okay. And yeah, so through all of these various things, I think the chemical aspect, the spiritual aspect, the self-talk, the self-internalization aspect, and then even just the confidence in knowing you are going to be okay. Some of you have experienced some really traumatic things. Some of you have been harmed by people. You've been harmed by systems. And you have just experienced a hard life. Maybe there hasn't been one big dramatic or traumatic thing that's happened to you, but it's just little things over time have caused you to be distrustful of people, or even distrustful of yourself. This idea that like you can't trust your own emotions, you can't trust your own read on maybe other people or on yourself. Like, am I okay? Am I going to make it through? Is this going to be okay? And especially for people who are creative, people who see the world a little different, they have this creative way of looking at the world, that can be really hard. It can be debilitating. It can take us out of the things that we love to do, the joys that we have in life, the things that we like to create, and the way we like to spend our time. Yeah, it can be really hard. It can be very discouraging. And so I just want to encourage you to lean into the truth about who you are. God loves you. He sees you. He sees the difficulties that you've been through. But at the same time, He made you. He made your brain chemistry. He's given us, thankfully, in this day, doctors and medicine and things that we can help to. Maybe it's a chemical imbalance, or maybe it's just a seasonal thing. You gotta stock up on some supplements in the winter or whatever it is. But at the same time, the lies that you've been told, the things that people have told you about yourself that aren't true, replace those with the truth. What are the truths about you? Who are you really? Who do you place your identity in? Is it in other people? Is it in relationships? Is it in money, security, a good job? Or do you place your security in Jesus? Do you place your security in God? Do you place your security in your own identity, who you were made to be? So how can you be content with where you're at? If you are struggling with a chemical imbalance, what does that look like to walk through that? If it's a spiritual imbalance, what does that look like? If it's a self-talk issue, what does that look like to walk through that? And to know that you're going to be okay. You're going to make it through this. There is going to be a better day. There is going to be a day where you're not depressed, where you're not constantly anxious, where you can have peace. And that's going to look like different ways for different people. For some, that's going to look like moving like to a different space, to a different, like your whole life is going to change. God's going to work things out for you and change your circumstances. He's going to remove negative people from your life. For others, it's going to look like finding that they can heal in place, that you can heal where you're at, that you actually have the ability to get back to a positive self-talk, or to accept the identity that God has made you, the identity that He's given you. So yeah, wherever you're at, I hope that this video encourages you. I hope for creatives that this encourages you to get back to where you were before, to get back to a place of creativity, or even better, get to a new place. Get to a place of healing that you didn't even know was possible. So I believe whatever experience thing you're going through, whatever experiences you've had, there is so much more. There is like an unlimited amount of abundance for you in your life that God can grant you. Trust in Him, be faithful to what He's called you to. And yeah, thank you for watching this video.